Hey, it's Jake with the Roaming Homesteaders. I've been seeing a lot of people posting videos about home winemaking and mead making, and that's great and all, but the secrets that I'm going to share with you today are the tips of the pros. And if you apply these in your own wine and mead making, you're going to leave people wondering how you got so good so quickly, and then you'll be raking in the awards, like I did. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Roaming Homesteaders. Today I'm going to be spilling the beans on the professional secrets of making award-winning mead. None of this AI-generated fluff you find online like keep improving and experiment with different flavors. Duh! That's really basic advice. No, my friends, the 10 tips that I'm going to share with you today really are the secrets the professionals keep to themselves, and knowing them is what separates the men from the boys. Just because you're a home mead maker doesn't mean you can't make something every bit as good as commercial mead, or sometimes something even better. Between 2009 and 2014, I won over 20 awards for wine and mead making, and now I'm going to save you the 15 years of research and experimentation it took me to gain this knowledge to help you skip to the head of the line. At the end of this video, I'll even share a link to the recipe from my award-winning Apricot-Mango Mead that won a first place award at the Mazer Cup International Mead Competition in 2013. So let's jump right in. Most people think that it doesn't matter what sort of honey you get. They grab the cheapest thing they can find at the grocery store and chuck it right in the mix. But pro secret number 1 says the type and source of your honey really is foundational to making the perfect mead. Honey can range from very light in color, almost clear, to so dark that it looks like molasses, with complex flavor differences. This has to do with the types of flowers that bees use to make their honey. If you can, be sure to taste it before you buy, since a fruity orange blossom honey will taste wildly different than a heavy buckwheat honey. Target the type of honey you use to the flavors you want your final mead to carry through, just like a fine wine. If you use a high-quality honey like this, you'll be far ahead of everyone else in complexity and balance in your meads. Pro secret number 2 is all about the yeast. Just like honey, the type of yeast you use and how you treat it before and during fermentation will have a significant impact on the flavor and complexity of your finished mead. Most people use that basic dry champagne yeast that comes in a little tin foil packet to ferment their mead, and they don't do anything special to feed or condition it beforehand. This usually results in a fast, hot fermentation with a lot of rough alcohols that will give you a raging headache after a night of Viking revelry. But there are literally hundreds of commercial varieties of yeast out there available for you to try, and using these specialized yeasts in your fermentation can bring amazing and complex flavors to your meads. Yeast is a complex community of microorganisms that convert sugars into alcohol and other compounds. And if you take the time to feed and baby them with the perfect nutrients and conditions they need to thrive during fermentation, they will reward you greatly with amazing results. One of my favorite mead yeasts is actually a Portuguese white wine yeast sold by Scott Labs, Lalvin QA23. Which develops amazingly fruity flavors in Melomel meads. My third pro secret also relates to yeast. As I said, providing the right conditions for your yeast to thrive is essential to a successful fermentation, and the biggest factor affecting this is fermentation temperature. Home mead makers usually just ferment in a closet, their garage, or spare bedroom, ignoring the fact that those places are usually too hot for proper mead making. Sure, your yeast will ferment at 80+ degrees, but higher temperatures result in an imbalance in the types of alcohols and compounds that yeast generate, with more off flavors and headache-inducing compounds made, like acetaldehyde, methanol, and propanol. If you carefully control the fermentation temperatures of your mead, you can ensure a cleaner flavor profile and prevent many of these undesirable compounds from ever being created. This is something that commercial wineries and meaderies are obsessive about. spending tens of thousands of dollars on huge chiller tanks and refrigerated fermentation vessels that hold temperatures in the 50 to 60 degree Fahrenheit range for a proper, slow, cold fermentation. For a couple $100, the home mead maker can use a modified refrigerator or freezer or a chiller jacket on their carboy that will maintain cooler temperatures for this purpose. It takes slightly more time, but the results are well worth it. If you're really looking to impress family, friends, and judges, then Pro Secret number 4 will help you do just that. As they say, appearance is everything, and making your meads crystal clear and gorgeous in the glass can really improve your scores and highlight your skills as a mead maker. Despite what many people think, mead should never be cloudy or hazy. This is actually caused by suspended beeswax particles and pectin haze that isn't removed during fermentation. It's actually not that hard to remove those elements from your mead, resulting in perfect clarity and rich coloring. First, mix your honey with equal parts of filtered water, boil, and skim off all the waxy scum that forms on the surface. This will remove the wax from your honey and improve its clarity. If you use fruit juice in your mead, also be sure to treat it with pectic enzyme for 24 hours before mixing it in for your fermentation. This will break down and eliminate the pectin in fruit, which causes haziness in the final product. Lastly, when starting your fermentation, use bentonite clay to settle and bind all the remaining particulates from your mead. Following these steps will help create clear and colorful mead in the bottle and the glass. If you're finding this video useful, please subscribe to our channel and share it with all your mead making friends and family so we can continue producing more great content like this. My 5th Pro Secret involves spices. Now, you don't need spices to make amazing mead, and often the flavors that honey type, yeast variety, and fermentation temperatures create are more than enough to please any palate. But did you know that the Vikings, the celebrated originators of mead, rarely made mead without spices? In fact, they brewed a secret concoction called gruit, which included Miracagale, yarrow, and wild rosemary, among many other intoxicating and sometimes hallucinogenic plants, which was rumored to cause the famous berserker rage they were famous for in battle. Setting those dangerous ingredients aside though, you can still experiment with culinary herbs with amazing results. Spices like orange zest, paradise seeds, coriander, heather, lavender, and many others can add richness and balance to your mead that you won't get from just honey and yeast alone. Just be careful not to overwhelm those lighter flavors with too much spice, unless that's what you're going for. I once made a blueberry metheglin mead that tasted like mulled wine, and it was the perfect thing for a cold winter day. Have you ever heard of Lalazyme EX, FT Blanc Soft, Acid Blend, or OptiWhite? How about yeast nutrient, pectic enzyme, bentonite clay? How about potassium sorbate, sodium metabosulfite? If not, then Pro Secret number 6 is just for you. There are many additives used in professional winemaking that amateurs are completely unaware of, which is why their mead is so often imbalanced or has other technical faults. These additives are used for everything from balancing tannins and mouthfeel, to clarifying and enhancing color, to stabilizing your mead for bottling. None of them are difficult to obtain or use, and online winemaking suppliers like LD Carlson and More Wine sell affordable quantities just for mead making. So go explore these additives and their specific uses, and don't be afraid to invest in the improvements they will give to your meads. My 7th Pro Secret may seem pretty basic, but the best mead makers are truly obsessed about cleanliness, sterilization, and equipment materials. Medieval peasants didn't use barkeeper's friend and star sand to wash their carboys and brewing equipment out, but if they could have, they would have. The days of wooden vats and spoons and animal wineskins are long past us. The best mead makers now swear by stainless steel utensils and pots and use only glass or stainless steel fermentation vessels. These are easy to clean and sterilize between uses and will not absorb off flavors or stains like many plastics will. Admittedly, you need to be careful when using glass carboys so you don't accidentally drop them or temperature shock them when dealing with hot liquids, but the visibility and quality they lend to the mead making process is invaluable. These materials and methods also ensure that the only yeast and bacteria introduced into your meads are the ones that come in a sealed packet or vial straight from the yeast company. Not many mead makers give much thought to bottling. They make their mead, they throw it in any old bottle they have laying around, throw a cheap cap on it, and voila, mead. But Pro Secret number 8 says that how and what you bottle your mead with really does matter. I'm not saying you have to run out and buy brand new bottles every time you make mead and slap on fancy labels. I liked fancy recycled wine bottles as much as the next guy. Just make sure that you properly clean and sterilize those bottles before using them, and invest in a proper corker and premium corks to eliminate spoiling and leaking. Adding colored boil immersion shrink caps to your bottle can add an affordable but professional touch to your mead as well. Something else is to consider how bottling can affect your mead. Most people will stabilize and then bottle their mead in a regular wine bottle, but there are other methods too. In 2013, I won a first-place Mazer's Mead Cup for a lightly carbonated Apricot-Mango Mead that I left to continue fermenting in the bottle. Champagne bottles and bottle conditioning methods can add a unique aspect to your mead too. This is an advanced technique used in champagne and Belgian beer making that can really set you apart from everyone else, and it's well worth the effort to learn. Secret number 9 is to properly age your mead. If you're anything like me, by month 2, you're just itching to crack open a bottle and sample the bounty of your efforts. And really, your mead might actually be pretty decent by then. But if you put your mead away in a cool, dark place and let it properly age, sometimes for more than a year, it will become the liquid gold you always wanted it to be. I've even tasted mead that has been aged for 10 years or more, and I can honestly say that nothing compares. Some really experienced brewers even experiment with barrel aging and wood chip additives, like making a fine whiskey. There's really no limit to the experiments you can try with your aging processes, and they can often lead to unique innovations that win lots of awards. Our 10th and final pro secret involves repeatability. Most mead makers fly by the seat of their pants. A pound of this, a gallon of that, a dash or two of spice to taste, but their recipes are really nothing more than whatever they had laying around and decided to throw into the carboy on brew day. Most times, this results in mediocre mead, but every now and then, the result is astounding. But sadly, they have no idea how or why it came out so good. And once the bottles are empty, their heavenly elixir is gone forever. If only they had used repeatable methods and carefully documented their process steps and ingredients. But you can learn from their failures and keep track of everything you do by using a brewing journal. Write down what you did. List your specific gravity measurements, your fermentation times, temperature checks, dates, times, quantities, where you bought your ingredients, how much they cost. The more information you track, the more data you have to repeat and build on your successes or to correct your mistakes. Then you can consistently produce high-quality meads that earn you the reputation of a real pro and all the awards that go with it. Here's a bonus pro secret I'll throw in for you too. If you're experimenting with a new recipe, or you just want to carefully control production using expensive ingredients like Manuka honey, make a small batch using 2 or 3 gallon carboys. If you're not sure how something will turn out, it will be a lot better to only have a few bottles of that nasty habanero hot pepper mead to get rid of than 3 cases of it you'll be forced to pour down your drain when you have to unexpectedly move in 3 years. And if your experiment is a resounding success, you can simply scale the recipe up and make a bigger batch later. Congratulations! You've hung in there to the end of this video, and as your reward, I've linked my award-winning Apricot-Mango Mead recipe in the description below. Now that you know these secrets to mead making, you too can go forth and conquer the ancient art of mead making like a pro. Just remember that alcohol, more than most things, can be dangerous when abused. Indeed, alcoholism and drunkenness are the cause of many societal problems today and can lead to even worse addictions. My wife and I made the personal choice to quit drinking in 2015, and we haven't made beer, wine, or mead since then. But we still believe there's a place for responsible and measured use of things like mead, particularly medicinally. And knowing how to make it well is an important homesteading skill to share and use in the proper context. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Roaming Homesteaders and that it's inspired your own homesteading adventures. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and like this video so we know whether to keep making videos like this one. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.